On January 12, 1777, American Brigadier General Hugh Mercer died from 7 bayonet wounds suffered 9 days earlier at the Battle of Princeton during the Revolutionary War. The battle itself was a crucial American victory, but Mercer's death reminds us that even great victories can come at a terrible price. But who was Hugh Mercer? And how did he become a close friend of George Washington? Also, how was Mercer memorialized today? And finally, what can you see if you visit the site of the Battle of Princeton today? Mercer's story was anything but simple. Born in Scotland in 1726, he trained as a physician at the University of Aberdeen and first fought against the British as part of Bonnie Prince Charlie's Jacobite uprising in Scotland. After that rebellion collapsed at the Battle of Culloden in 1745, Mercer fled to America, settling in Pennsylvania and later serving under the British Crown during the French and Indian War, the North American theater of the 7 Years' War. It's a contradiction we often see in history. The same man fighting on different sides, shaped perhaps by circumstance more than ideology. It was during the French and Indian War that Mercer first met a young George Washington. They in fact served together as colonial militia officers under British General Edward Braddock, participating together in the failed 1775 effort to seize Fort Duquesne from the French. Mercer and Washington became lifelong friends. By the 1760s, at the encouragement of Washington, Mercer had settled in Fredericksburg, Virginia, practicing medicine and running an apothecary shop where he prepared and sold medications. When revolution came to America, Mercer returned to rebellion, this time alongside his old friend George Washington. Washington trusted Mercer deeply and personally requested his promotion to Brigadier General by the Continental Congress in 1776. Mercer played an important role in the crossing of the Delaware and the Battle of Trenton in late December 1776. To learn more about the crossing of the Delaware and the Battle of Trenton, you can click on the link at the top right or at the end of this video. A week later, Washington's army crossed the Delaware from Pennsylvania to New Jersey again. On January 3, 1777, Mercer led a brigade ahead of Washington's main force. During a British counterattack in Princeton, Mercer's horse was shot out from under him. Surrounded by soldiers demanding surrender, Mercer fought back with his sword and was bayoneted repeatedly and struck on the head with the butt of a musket. His men carried him to the Thomas Clark House, where famed physician Benjamin Rush attempted to save his life. Mercer lingered for days in the Clark home, finally passing on January 12th. In no small part due to Mercer's efforts, Washington had won an important victory in the Battle of Princeton, which had spread into the center of the nearby college town. Washington's crucial win forced the British Army, led by General Charles Cornwallis, to pull back to New York City, enabling the Continental Army to rest and regroup for the remainder of the winter in Morristown, New Jersey. Mrs. Lewis and I visited the Princeton battlefield site in 2025. It is today a New Jersey state park. We were moved as we walked where such momentous events occurred. There are placards around the battlefield that tell the story of what happened that day. Some, like this one showing Captain Joseph Mulder's battery holding the line, include battle windows made of clear acrylic that help you visualize where and how the battle played out. A colonnade, which had previously been the portico of a 19th century Philadelphia mansion, memorializes 36 unknown soldiers, some British and some American, who are buried nearby. The Thomas Clark House, where Mercer died, was also a highlight. We were unable to go inside since it wasn't open at the time of our visit, but it was still fascinating to see the house from the outside and realize how close it was to the fighting. However, my favorite part of the park was a white oak tree that stands alone in the middle of the battlefield. According to legend, Mercer fell that day underneath a white oak. Unwilling to abandon his troops, he leaned against its trunk as they stood their ground against the British assault. What is believed to be that tree became known as the Mercer Oak. It stood at the site for 300 years until it was felled by a windstorm in March of 2000. An 8-foot sapling, which was grown from one of the original Mercer Oak's acorns, was planted next to the stump of the former tree. That white oak thrives at Princeton Battlefield State Park today. A multi-million-dollar refurbishment project is currently in the works for Princeton Battlefield State Park, with the hope of beginning the project in 2027, the battle's 250th anniversary year. A few miles away, in the heart of Princeton, you can also visit the Princeton Battle Monument, which was personally dedicated by U.S. President Warren G. Harding in 1922. An impressive relief sculpture on the monument features General George Washington at the top and powerfully portrays the dramatic fall of General Mercer. Hugh Mercer didn't live to see independence, but like so many revolutions, America's was built not just on victories, but on immeasurable sacrifice. But Mercer's name lives on, as the area where he first settled in southern Pennsylvania is now known as Mercersburg. In Fredericksburg, Virginia, where he later lived, there is a large monument to Mercer. In New Jersey, the cities of Princeton and Trenton are part of what is now Mercer County. Roads and trails bear his name, including in Manhattan, where the naming of Mercer Street is mentioned in the song The Room Where It Happens from the hugely popular 2015 Broadway musical, Hamilton. And of course, Hugh Mercer's legacy lives on in a white oak tree at Princeton Battlefield State Park. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1919, the Big Four meet in Paris to begin discussing their plans for a treaty to officially end World War I. In 1932, Hattie Caraway of Arkansas becomes the first woman ever elected to the U.S. Senate. In 1969, Led Zeppelin releases its debut album, which features the 1937 Hindenburg disaster on its cover. In 1999, 17-year-old Britney Spears' first album debuts at number 1, thanks to the success of its first single. In 2001, the shopping district downtown Disney at the Disneyland Resort in California opens to the public. In 2010, an earthquake rocks the Caribbean nation of Haiti, killing 200,000 and leaving 900,000 homeless. In 2017, U.S. President Barack Obama surprises Vice President Joe Biden with the Medal of Freedom. And now, it's time for our Today in History quiz. Legendary country singer Johnny Cash famously performed for inmates at Folsom Prison in which U.S. state? California, Texas, Ohio, or New York? Liked learning about the death of General Mercer? Then you'll love this one about the crossing of the Delaware and the Battle of Trenton. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.